Is that how it feels like?
Yeah. And can I actually touch on there's an aspect of what you just said that I was thinking about between last night and this morning, and it was a bit of it's something that has been coming into my awareness. I watched a movie last night and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it kind of went into this. And I actually have a past life where I can remember the dynamics between myself and someone else who I believe is going to become
Wow.
somewhat prevalent in my life going forward, but it's almost like I've been unpacking the prior lifetime dynamics in order to understand, or at least what I've been being shown through clairvoyance, which maybe it's past life, maybe I mean, it's staying steady, so it feels like a past life. But in that experience, and this connects to the witch wound, it connects to us helping to understand some of why women carry so much internalized shame.
Yeah.
Um, so think about if a man has shame about the way that he feels in response to a woman, it's easier to say she's casting a spell on me rather than taking accountability,
Of
right?
course. Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I saw in this past life was putting someone having those sorts of feelings towards me,
Yeah.
not knowing what to do about them. They were unconscious, right? But then the desire was to put me in a cage,
Yeah.
you know, stay with a woman that they were with because they could be who they wanted to be with that woman in the sense that they weren't so overcome with that sensation that they couldn't stay steady, right? But then this other person who they had these big feelings for was a threat to their internal stability.
Yeah.
And instead of doing something about it, like all this work that we're talking about, like looking at our shadow, what is it? Um, the response being, I'm going to control this thing, but also kind of demonize it and blame that person for the way that I feel instead of taking ownership. And so women will feel the energy of that
Yeah.
and think I must be bad, right? Like I'm bringing pain to this person, and so I must be bad.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about the witch wound, what was coming in this morning was how I don't think a lot of us have really stopped and thought about how deep the witch wound goes when it comes to us expressing our sexuality, not from
Okay.
performative, because we've seen a lot of the performative sexuality. Um, and then one other thing that I want to say real quick, because when I stepped out of my last partnership, this is the longest I've ever been single. And by single, I mean also not like going out and hooking up with random people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not proud of that, but I also want to say that from the lens of why this is a big stark contrast for me and some of the work that I've had to do. And so when I stepped out of that relationship, I remember having two feelings. And it was like this feeling of I have all this love pouring out of me and I don't know where to direct it. And at first, I didn't know what to do with it, and I would just kept dropping into meditation. Then I was like, I have to learn how to funnel that back into myself. And so that started that process, literally understanding how to direct my energy flow, like that part of my energy flow, and feeling like I was worthy of that. It's like I have all this love that I want to give everyone else, but why don't I think that I'm worthy of it too? And then with the sexual energy, I think if, okay, there's so much here, but when you step into your dharmic path, which again, you have to go through the walking through the fires of your deepest, darkest fears, which, yeah, sure, it can be tough. I like to make it fun. So if you want it to be fun, like I can take you through that process. But either way, you're gonna have to walk through it to get to what you actually want. And when you get to what you actually want, when you unlock that feeling of you're walking in your full purpose, not just like I think this is my purpose, but like you feel it in your bones. Like all of you, it's like you could try to rip me away from this, but like I'm not gonna go silently, you know? It's like this is it's my baby, right? And so, um, kind of a weird transition saying that into what I'm gonna say, likening it to a baby, but we're talking about my business, right? Let's step back and remember that.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, we're talking about my passion, my offering to the collective. My sexual energy goes into that. Like it's my creative force, it's the passion, it's the I'm so in love with this thing that I'm bringing to life. My devotion for it matches, if not surpasses, the devotion that I had in my past partnerships. And it's like, if I like part of why I share about this so passionately is like the people that I'm really here for are the people that are like me, where they have a really big energetic capacity. And when you have a really big energetic capacity, it's a lot to hold, and it's extra crucial to figure out how to direct that energy. So when I was 18, for example, I was told that when I walked down a hallway, it was like there was a whole tornado coming down the hallway because I hadn't mastered my energy yet.
Oh,
It
wow.
was it was just chaotic. And so when you have a dysregulated nervous system, think of a really powerful something, right, that generates a ton of power. Like you probably have a facility that's watching it to make sure it doesn't get messed with because it's dangerous if it's not kept stabilized, right? And so that's like all of us, like those of us that have really big energetic capacities, we cause a lot of harm and destruction when we are not in our healed expression. But also, it's so crucial. Like, one of the things I saw for my own life path was that I willingly came in and was like, throw it all at me because I know I'll be able to walk through it, get to the other side. And I had seen before I got to this point in my life, um, in this past life regression that I did where I saw all of this, that I was going to then reach a tipping point and then cusp into helping people. But if I hadn't have walked through everything that I walked through with the type of energy that I had, people wouldn't look at me and be like, oh yeah, she gets it. And like she went from being one of someone like me where it's like I feel like I'm hiding so much, but it's just like doing this all the time, you know? And now she's someone that genuinely, like, granted, I'm still, my womb and I are still healing our relationship, right? But it's like there's stability, there's forward movement in the direction of like purpose. It's finally being freed from what I would call a little bit of like sex and love addiction previously, right? Because it was like I and like an addiction to achieving, always needing to prove my value and performing like you talked about, and being in my hyper masculine, which another
Yes.
thing I want to show out really quickly, I've done a post on this, is that my experience was I was hyper masculine and then I flipped to the polar
Yeah.
opposite end of the spectrum. And then I had to learn to come back
The
into center
balance.
with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like we want an inner union, right? We can't throw away like it was like I lost contact with like my discipline, my drive. Like there was so the structure, like we need like the feminine energy needs the structure and like the habits, the routines, the disciplines, all the things that make it easier for the feminine energy to flow and allow for that creative expression to come through without it. But we need both, right? If you have just the masculine, that's why we have so many men out there that are like really successful and they have everything they want, but they're numb. It's because they don't have contact with their feminine side.
Yeah. So discover both sides and then bring it together again.
But
I
a
like
lot of
that
it,
also
what
more.
I've found, so when I read someone's system, a lot of what I keep coming back to, like realize, like noticing a pattern around, is the men that are suppressing their feminine.
Yeah.
Usually there was a combination or one or the other where like the father shamed them for being emotional or the mother shamed them for being emotional. But then also a lot of them, it's like the mother was really emotionally volatile. And so the feminine feels unsafe. And that includes their own
Yeah.
internal feminine. So it's
Or,
like,
or
gotta
yeah,
keep her
it's
down.
or very occupying or manipulative so that they have that wrong picture of what is it to
Hmm.
be like in
Yeah.
their feminine energy parts as well. So when we talk about healing in the future and we're talking about passion and the purpose, I feel like that when we come to this planet that our inner child already know. And we probably have not the right environment. So for me, like all my work is like also to reconnect or just like to be aware that we have an inner kid. And when we're talking
Hmm.
about wounds and relationship wounds, or just like they come up in relationships, right? Our, wounds probably what happened when we've been a kid. So you also were talking about energy and we're talking about emotions. And energy is like, in motion, it's emotion, it's energy in motion.
Yes.
And
Yes. Oh my God, I heard that years ago and I was like, yes.
yeah, and it's it's just like in my journey, Nicole, it's such a strong energy when you're not able to direct it in the way you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you feel like the highly sensitive part feels so much. The feminine
Hmm.
wants to go with the flow. The masculine part is not healed, and you feel like, ping pong inside of you. Just like to
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
down into that laser to your goal, because we all have, probably goals. I don't know. So I
Mhm.
have goals. When you're
Yeah.
listening, probably you have goals. And also like that attitude we have and that intention. And when you start feeling energy that, yes. Thoughts are energy.
Yeah.
Emotions are energy.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when people are sitting there and say, yeah, yeah, so how I can heal that? Help me. What can I do? What can we do on the planet? That, not everyone is running around and having like compensation strategies, like with food or like overcompensate or,
Yeah.
like addiction. I feel like if it's not channeled in the right way, yeah, it can lead probably to addiction. So what?
Totally. Yeah. And actually, I want to put a plug in around addiction real quick. So, one of the things I learned with addiction is that shame is what creates the magnetic loop of addiction, right? So, if we can find a way to resolve the shame, we can start to diffuse the magnetism of addiction. But in terms of the broader concept of what you were talking about, if you had to like give it a title, just so I make sure I focus on the right area, what would be kind of like the title of what you want me to dive fully in on here? There
Like
was a few things in there that I could jump in on.
healing the future. So when we start here, that we have a better planet. That would be my vision. That everyone would start
So,
really to do the inner work. Yes.
mhm. I think the biggest thing is first forgiving ourselves. Like we can't make change until there was a period where I just kept posting about this over and over again back in 20, I think it was late 2024, how you can't change something that you're not willing to first see and accept as it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the first step, most people are, yeah, the first, and it's literally, so I used to drown myself in alcohol, and my parents both met in a 12-step recovery program. And so when I first was trying to get better, I actually went into this 12-step recovery program because that was what my mother did. And so I spent 10 years doing a 12-step recovery program. And in that, like, there's so many things I learned in that process. I, in the end, ended up deciding, like, that's not the path for me. And it's interesting if you look at the co-founders, oh, like the founder, well, whatever we want to call him, the guy that basically started that program, he also went in a similar direction and just got shamed and pushed out. So it's like there's certain values, but I think also there's a lot of systems that could use some expansion. But that's a whole other topic. But anyways, so
Yeah.
their step one is like you have to be willing to admit there's a problem, right? And if you can't start there, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. If you're still not sure on whether this is something that you actually want to change, then the rest doesn't even really matter, right? And so like in my coaching with people, um, one of the first things I ask is like, what is the thing that you really want to get changed? Because I know if I just start working
Yeah.
on healing with you without having a target that means something to you, you're not going to maintain the motivation to actually keep doing these things, right? So step one is like, do you want to change? Are you like, okay, I'll
Yes.
take
Question.
another slogan, right? From that whole space was like, oh, I just lost it. Um, oh shoot, I totally just lost it. But yeah, it's like, are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, right? And
Hmm.
it's like if you're there, we have grounds to like we have something to jump off from. Um, and within that, there's a few things I want to say. Like if I was just to like, give people a few things around like how I see healing looking in the future, it's not so heavy. Like if you ask any of my clients, some of them would say they were really nervous about starting with me because some of them knew me from my personal life and they found me to be like intimidating or a number of other things. And then they would get in the container with me and be like, oh my God, like I didn't think it was going to be like this, right? It doesn't have to be heavy. Like, yeah, I'm an intense human being, but part of my intensity is my level of care for people. And that's part of why it hurt me so much when people would think that I was dangerous or bad or that I might want to hurt people. And I spent most of my life trying to see if that was true because I was so terrified that they might be right. And so when you come into my space, like my whole priority is um making sure that you don't feel judged, because I know that in order for us to have the space to create shifts within us, we have to really feel safe. We have to feel like we're really being met from a non-judgmental place, which if I couldn't actually do that, I would have no space. Like I wouldn't be built for this work, right? But for me, one of my hopefully this is okay to frame it this way, but I would say like I almost have a kink for like really having people let me see them so deeply, including their shadow, because I've had these gifts my whole life. And one of the most challenging things for me was I see you. I see the parts of you that you want me to see, and I see the parts of you that you don't want me to see. And I spent my life pretending that I don't see the parts of you that you don't want me to see. And now, granted, when I drank, what I now understand is there was this part of me that was like dying to come out, you know? But when it would come out when I would drink, it was angry about all of the stuff that I wasn't allowed to talk about. And so then I would throw it in people's faces and it wouldn't be very nice. And that's not what I want to do either, right? But it's like when we can all come to a place of being less judgmental and being more understanding that we all want to be happy and we all want to
Yeah.
feel safe and we
Oh,
all
yeah.
want to be accepted. And that doesn't mean that everyone has to like you and everyone has to accept you, but if we could all at least start looking at everyone else from that lens, right? The world would be so different. Like if I think it's the St. Francis prayer, like seek to understand rather than to be understood. And it's like, what if we gave that to other people where I'm seeking to understand you rather than like, you have to know who I am, right? I want to understand who you are so I can meet you as like, if I'm going to be your friend, like I want to know how do I be a good friend to you? And I can't do that unless I'm actually paying attention to who you are, not how do I want to be in relation to you? And when we start doing that for other people, it's a reflection of us being able to do that for ourselves too. So actually another big thing I want to talk about is how I none of this was possible until I decided like I had me. And that literally looked like me sobbing. I got my breast implants removed in 2023. And right around that same time, just before I got into the only like situationship I've been in since my near-death experience. And it was kind of like I don't really know how I got here, but I found myself in a situationship where it was like the guy was saying we were dating, but like he had never actually really dated someone. He was definitely what you would call an F-boy. He was very attractive. We had great chemistry, and I had to confront a lot of really painful things about myself through this process. But so I'm going through surgery recovery. This guy had told me that he wanted to take care of me, which I should have just said no, but like there was this little girl part of me that was like, "Oh my God, he wants to take care of me." So now I'm post-op. I just started a new job and so I'm like stressed that I just started the job and like my surgery happened to coincide with when I started. I've got this situationship guy who's taking care of me that very quickly flipped into like a total nightmare where it was like it was like a complete recreation of so many of my most painful experiences. All of a sudden was in my own home and I can't even lift myself up off of these wedge pillows and I was just in so much pain. And honestly, I had also had a big plant medicine ceremony that was supposed to be right around that time as well. There was a lot that was happening in my life, so things were getting rearranged and it no longer made sense to do that plant medicine ceremony so close to being after my surgery. But I had been kind of looking at it as that ceremony would unlock so much within me that I was kind of just holding on until that ceremony. So when that ceremony, and that was gonna be my first big medicine ceremony, like I had done a psilocybin ceremony, but that was like I was just barely starting to get into the realm of like plant medicine ceremonies. Um, and so then when that ceremony got taken away like I decided to, but it was no longer on the table for like that's gonna because I think there was a part of me that was like it'll help, I'll feel better when I get there, right? Because it'll bring so much stuff up and I'll be able to move through so much stuff. And as soon as that happened, I immediately got the message life as the ceremony, which I instantly knew meant you were meant to have this carrot dangled in front of you and then have it ripped away so that you could figure out how to get what you needed from that ceremony from you yourself going into the work. So
Mhm.
I'm laying there, I'm not taking the pain medications that you're supposed to take, so I'm in physical pain, I'm in immense psychological pain, I'm stressed about my job. I don't have a family net, like safety net financially, and like I've always supported myself. So it was like I'm starting this new job, I'm getting surgery, everything is intense and like chaotic, and like I have to get myself healed enough to get back to work in like 4 days or something crazy that I was telling myself I had to do. I was just on overload. And in that, I had this experience where I was just in, so it was like the little girl in me that felt so alone. Like my, because again, my mother was like, you, I forget you're sensitive, right? So I wasn't allowed to be emotional with her. My father just stopped showing up and no one told me what was going on. And all I was told was like these horrendous things about him. So I like had this, and we moved around a lot. So like I never had anyone that like prioritized me or wanted to help me or take care of me. So having that from that man who was like, I want to take care of you, to all of a sudden he flips on me and rips open these crazy wounds. And I feel like I'm just sitting there as that little girl who's like, nobody is there for me. Like nobody, I'm all alone. I'm so scared. I'm in so much pain. I'm scared that if I just move the wrong way, I'm going to rip a stitch inside of me because the surgeons did a great job making me really afraid of that. And I just put my hands around myself while I was sobbing and I was like, I've got you. And it was
Yeah.
the first time that it even occurred to me, like, where, so self-abandonment, I think, is one of the biggest things, right? We can look at what everyone else has done to us, but the reality is, like, we think God or source or whatever we want to call it abandoned us, and we abandoned ourselves, right? And so healing is really returning home to yourself and becoming
Yes.
whole unto
Wow.
yourself, you
Wow.
know? So
Beautiful.
it's like this transformation of from that point forward, I didn't know what it meant to love yourself. I was
Yeah.
always confident. Like I've
Yeah.
always been a really big energy that was trying to stifle herself, and I always came across as very confident, but I was always deeply insecure before, right? It was just more my personality is big and like I think I have a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm the alpha," and they like want to be the alpha. And I'm like, I was always trying to be like the little one in the background, but my whole energy is not, it's the opposite of that, right? And so self-love, I think, is like filling that void of like everything we were trying to fill from the world outside of us, right? So I started looking at it like, what do I want from the world outside me? I want to feel safe and I want to feel like someone has me. Okay, I'm going to become devoted in the way that I show up for myself. So everything
Mhm.
flipped from
Love that
discipline
so much, Nicole.
to devotion. Yeah, it changed the entire game.
hmm I love that. So yeah, it's finally when we, want to heal the planet, love yourself. Right?
Hmm.
So then probably
Yeah.
will a completely different
And
scenario.
learn like how does someone love you well? Because like I had to learn that about myself, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like I'm gonna lay
Love,
out my
right?
outfit the night
Receive.
before.
Yeah, to allow yourself to receive love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I could just sit here now in that energy forever. I would love for you if you just share where can people find you, Nicole? Where can they connect with you? You have like a website, you have Instagram, you have like
Yeah.
the
So,
community, rebirth
mhm.
community on Instagram as well.
Yeah, there's a few options. Yep.
Yes.
I do have a website, but I'm not going to promote my website right now. And if anyone wants to help
Okay.
me with my website, like I'll take help. The best place to connect with me, in my opinion, is on Instagram. And I know we're going to drop the handles, but my
Pull
personal
that in
page
the below
is
the.
underscore Nicole underscore Eloise underscore. And then there's the Rebirth community, which it's some underscores with Rebirth community. Everything on Rebirth community will be tagged on my page. So if you follow me personally, you'll also get the Rebirth posts as well. And the Rebirth page, just for context for people, is actually a page that was started by my earliest client, Josh, who he came to me initially for health issues, but he had also been doing plant medicine ceremonies, internal parts work, and a number of other things. And um, when he came to me for the physical health stuff, I immediately was like, this isn't about your physical health. Like everything starts in the energetic realm. And I started explaining to him, I was like, talking to him about what I saw from his childhood. And he was like, he had never experienced anything. He'd been in a lot of alternative spaces, but never quite to that extent. He's now stayed with me for over a year of one-on-one work and has no intentions of stopping. And then when I was in my own rebirth portal at one point, he came forward and was like, hey, I feel really strongly about helping you get word out about what you do. Like, could I start a rebirth page?
Oh, this is
And
beautiful.
I mean, this is the way that I think. Like, I don't think of rebirth as a business. I really think of it as something that has so you talked about human design. And do you mind if I go on a little bit of a tangent here, or are we tight on time?
No, 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 just go
Okay.
ahead.
So I'm a manifestor human design, and manifestors
Yeah.
are believed to like we're only about 8% of the population, and I'll also throw out there I highly recommend looking up your sidereal charts. Tropical is based on the Gregorian calendar system, which is a bit skewed. It's not based on the actual calendar placement. So if you have human design or astrology stuff, Google search sidereal human design or gene keys, and it'll give you a more accurate reading. But so manifestors are believed to be deeply connected to the unconscious of the collective. And so manifestors, most in our world today, are not functioning in proper design. A big part of my initiations over these years has been about learning about my makeup, which then at a certain point after I had downloaded a bunch of information about myself, someone put human design on my radar and it just started explaining it at a much deeper level. Um, so when we are in healthy relationship with like the broader energies and ourselves, we are meant to be vessels to birth things through into the world that the collective is wanting before they
Mhm.
know that they want it,
Oh,
right?
wow. This is
So
huge.
yeah, yeah. So this is
Hmm.
something actually one of the things Katie has come back to a few times in our channeling sessions is that like human design is a big area for me to study and then I'll be teaching a lot on it. Um, but we can also look at the flip side, right? Hitler was a manifester, but he was also being pumped full of amphetamines, which is the opposite of how a healthy manifester functions. We're meant to rest 80% of the time. So when you have someone that's in that amount of disharmony, they're going to birth things through a ton of distortion, and you can see the amount of destruction that he caused in our world, right? And so one of the things that I became really, really devoted to was honoring my proper cycles. And the way I think of rebirth is something that's I'm in utter devotion to this thing that's trying to birth through me and doing so from a place of the least distortion, ideally no distortion, right? So that means like devoted to my healing, being devoted to anything that gets triggered along the way. And so what I've seen it becoming is like a whole world, right? That like they kind of cross this threshold through the healing of the different spaces that I'm creating and the one-on-ones, which doesn't just include me as a coach, there's other coaches now too. Um, and once they cross that threshold, there's other kind of circles that open up to them, depending on the level that they've come to, and which correlates to like how much capacity they have to create safe spaces for other people who are also walking this path. And then what I've seen it eventually becoming is this whole ecosystem where everyone is living in their dharma and supporting one another, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm going to you for services, you're going to someone else for services. It's like how a village used to be, right? Everyone got what they needed, they all supported each other, and no one was overworking themselves or left behind. So just to touch on the other spaces real quick within my world, so that's the big picture idea. So Josh runs the rebirth page and he'll post from his own perspective too. And you can read client testimonials at the top of our page too. And then we have this school community. So it's Rebirth the Community hosted on the school platform. That one just got started in the past few months. So we're still picking up steam. We're starting to do monthly meetups, which is really, really exciting. And then once you get into the one-on-one world, it opens up kind of a different segment. And the one-on-one work is with myself or other coaches. There's an application link in my personal bio as well as the Rebirth bio to come into the one-on-one work, and I can always talk about the options with people in there. Um, and the one-on-one work is, of course, like I'm channeling for people whether they're directly working with me or not. So that's another thing I want to talk about. If someone gets aligned to another coach that's not me, I'm meeting with that coach at least once a week and having them feed to me what's going on, and I can read energy through the
Mm-hmm.
coaches of the person. And so I'm working on their energy to be able to have their energy be as supportive to you as possible while also channeling things for the individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not hands off in really any area of what I'm doing. And once you get inside that space, when you get to a certain level where I feel like you can really honor the level of depth that we go into within a different group that we have, which I call like the inner circle group, then you're welcomed into that space where it's like the people who are really craving to be seen at these new levels of like depths that they've found within themselves, but I feel really strongly about creating like a really safe space for them to do so, to practice speaking their whole truth and really expressing in authentic ways that maybe would be really like it's might be new and scary for them. So I want to create a space where they can not just connect with other people that are kind of can meet them at their level, but also give them a space to kind of practice their embodiment. Because the way I see it is all the people that come into this world are having ripple effects out in the world on their own, right? And so the more I give them space to be able to practice being seen in their full embodiment, the more their full embodiment stabilizes. And then when they go out in the world, they're less inclined to morph back into who the world around them expects them to be, right? So lots of ways to work with me. I'm also on TikTok. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn and you look up Nicole Eloise, and you can look up Nicole Eloise Rebirth, I still have 4,000 something contacts from the tech world, and I'm the message that I've received is to act as a bridge between the
Yeah.
spiritual
Oh yeah.
communities and the tech
Goosebumps
world.
resonates totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of crossover between you and I in terms of kind of how
Yes.
our path has been.
Yes, absolutely. I have so wonderful interview guest. Thank you for being here. And it hit me right away when we were talking about Hitler and that he was a manifester. And
Mhm.
yeah, obviously I'm German, and in history class,
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
yeah, we were watching, all those movies we had to. And I had just that crazy thought. I thought, okay, if one person has the power to do what he did, which was, beyond, just let's, we don't need to talk about that. To do the flip side of that.
hmm Yeah. Um, I won't go on a full tangent, but I just want to say one thing really quickly on that. Remember how I said I'm here for the people that have a really big capacity,
Yeah,
right? And how the people that have a really big capacity have the capacity to create mass destruction or mass impact in a positive direction.
yeah,
And I believe that, to your point, it's like we don't, if we shut off awareness of our capacity to cause great destruction, it's going to be trying to sneak through us in all kinds of different ways, that distorted version of us. But
yes,
if you can just accept that you own that spectrum within you, yes, like that lives in you, then it gives you access to the total opposite end of the spectrum. So becoming the person that can cause that much impact in the opposite degree. And that was something that I had to learn and was so impactful for me to come to understand. And no one taught me, and I learned it through exploring and my own gifts and trying to understand things. But yeah, if that can help one person, like I would be so happy.
wow. And I mean, when we talk about the future, now we have 2026. So we like literally going through that 100 years like soon. So what if
Mhm.
we could do that? I mean, I'm a little visionary, obviously, but what if we could do 100 years later what someone messed up 100 years ago, which is no
100%.
expression for what, it can't be put into anything. But yeah, just open up for that possibility. Oh my God.
Well, and I want to
Yes.
I'm going to put one more thing on your radar that you probably already know, but just is going to put some pieces together with what you're saying now versus some other bigger picture things. We've been going through a descent. There's people that in the spiritual world that talk about how like Hitler was here to do what he did. It was a part of our collective going down, 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 and then going up, 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 right? And it's like everything has to express as the other end. And so I look at it as, oh my God, like
Polarity.
look how far down we went.
Yes.
And that means like look how that's
What's
all
left? Yeah.
material for us. Like when we talk about creativity, all of the stuff that we transmute, including all of the collective trauma that we've gone through, turns into creative expression. And like the more dark, okay, so this is another big download I got. The further down
Wow.
in the scale in darkness that we've gone at an individual and a collective level, the more we got expanded and the more like intricacies got built into what we have access to. So imagine the polar
Mhm.
opposite expression of that amount of darkness is that amount of beauty and love and joy and play. And like, how cool is it to think about it from that perspective?
Absolutely. It's just like a picture comes up and I don't clearly see what it is. Feels like a foundation and it's really fluffy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really fluffy and you can really jump and you can use that as a returning feedback. As you mentioned, that
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be so hard. You
Yeah,
just to lean into it and trust that it will come. Just like, it feels
yeah,
like, yeah, the picture like this, doing this. And
yeah.
then you let
I
go
think
and
hope
jump
is,
a little bit higher. Nothing can hurt you. So,
well, yeah, it's like the more times you go through the whole process, the more you're like, oh, I trust this. Like
yes.
this is safe. And now I have hope. And hope is the
Oh,
thing that keeps us moving
I
forward.
have the hope thing in my chart, my human design thing is like hope that
Mhm.
helped me. So, oh my God, thank you
Thank
so
you. I love
so
this.
so much, and all the best for your purpose on this planet, and that
You
we are
too.
connected right now. And of course,
Yeah.
we put all the links, all your offers, and your social media accounts below the video. Thank you, Nicole,
Thank you so much.
and have a really great time healing this planet.
I have a feeling you'll be doing your own healing as well along the way
Yeah.
with people. Thank you, thank you,
Take
thank you.
care. Bye bye.